Hello, and happy Thursday. So excited to see you on. Today at Purse Strings, or this whole month, we're actually talking about investing and different types of investments you can do. And so we're here every Thursday providing just some education to get those wheels turning. We talked earlier this month about using real estate as investing. And today we're going to talk about cryptocurrency, which is a super hot topic. And as you guys know, Purse Strings has a list of professionals who are vetted and approved to work with the female market. We call those our Purse Strings approved professionals. And Dr. Erika is one of them. So we're so excited to have you on today talking about crypto. So can we just start with a little introduction from you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Dr. Erika Rasure, and I am the founder of a newer company called Crypto Goddess. And I had spent 10 years as an academic, as a university professor. I just retired from that last month. And
Wow.
I know, it was such like a huge leap of faith, like you go from something, like relatively stable and safe. But what really kind of led me to the crypto goddess journey, if you will, is, during the pandemic, you know, um, I had really I've always been interested in fintech. My
Mhm.
PhD is in personal finance, and that's what I taught, but I really, really was interested in the whole like crypto blockchain thing. And so when I started, getting into crypto, what I started realizing is the resources there for women just kind of don't exist. Um,
Right.
right. And so it was a lot of like crypto bros, and nothing against the crypto bros. It's just, it can be very high level and just very technical. And it's just, women learn differently. We think differently. And, I'm also a financial therapist. And so everything I do really speaks to like the emotional and cognitive, relational, behavioral side of the way we interact with our money. And as women, especially female investors, we tend to outperform men in the market.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. um, but there's nothing. At least I didn't see anything out there for women specifically. And so for me being, and I don't mean to toot my own horn too terribly here, but I do have a PhD in personal finance. I am somebody who is an expert in this, and it was hard for me to learn. And I'm like, if this is hard for me to learn, oh my gosh, it's got to be a nightmare for everybody else. Um, and so that's kind of how Crypto Goddess came about. I decided to really pursue that and take a look at it, and that's what I'm doing. And so my big launch, first classes and the community is expected late summer, early fall. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this because, personally, I've done a little dabbling of cryptocurrency,
yeah,
but it's definitely definitely a dabble and definitely just kind of shoot in the air.
right.
And it is, up and coming, new things are coming out every day. And so it's nice to have somebody who's kind of on top of that and educating us women.
Yeah.
So let's dive into some of these questions we have, which really, what is crypto or cryptocurrency for those who don't know about it?
Yeah. So, cryptocurrency, and I think a lot of us, have heard the word, but cryptocurrency itself is really, you can think of it more as a virtual or digital asset. So it's not like gold or like a dollar, something you can hold. It's something that kind of exists in the ether, right? And it is something that is generally, um, you know, decentralized and held on a blockchain or some sort of blockchain technology behind it. And blockchain is really just kind of a fancy word for a ledger. So think of it like an Excel spreadsheet. So like if you've got an Excel spreadsheet and you can go in and you can, type in, your budget for last month, you can go back in and edit that, and nobody kind of really knows that you made any edits, right? Blockchain, as soon as something is entered on that blockchain, you can't go in and erase it. And so that's kind
Mm.
of one of the big appeals to cryptocurrency, is that the idea is that it kind of takes the power away from our more centralized government and financial systems that we're used to, and puts it into the hands of the users. And it's the idea is that it will create more transparency, more flexibility, and more freedom. And
Mhm.
that is something to me that like just really just generally appeals. I have nothing against our centralized financial systems or government necessarily, but it does give, the idea is it does give people an option to cut out the middleman,
Right.
So I think that's the short and dirty version of it.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's hard to understand all the time, but yeah, you can track, where these things have been sent,
Yes.
and none of that can be changed.
Right.
And the government's not really involved as of
Right.
now, which is kind of what decentralized means. I know there's a lot of conversation. We won't dive into
There
all
is.
that today,
Yeah.
but we'll just stick with it.
And I think the thing we need to think about, at least in the clear and present, is that at least in the United States, crypto and your transactions are being taxed. So there's
They
a new
are.
Form 1040. It showed up a couple years ago. It says, "Are you engaging in any crypto transactions?" And if you're on a spot like Coinbase or Gemini, you will get a 1099 that shows your profits or losses. So that is one way the government has been able to insert itself. So there's a lot, and a lot of it is so uncertain.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So why would this be, a better option or a different option than a typical stock market or real estate investing?
Well, I want to temper this, of course, by saying, you know, um, I don't think it's necessarily a better option. It's an option. It is
Hmm.
something to look at, and I think that's something I want women especially to know right now, is that it doesn't have to be scary, but at the same time, it doesn't mean go all in on crypto, because
Right.
the truth is, it's very sexy and very exciting, and all of these things. And one of the things that appeals to a lot of investors when it comes to crypto is that there's a low barrier to entry.
Right.
To open up an account on Coinbase takes like 10 minutes and none of your time. And so you can kind of start playing around with it. Whereas, if you want to open a brokerage account, you've got to, there's some more work involved in that.
Right.
And then, there's kind of that FOMO, that fear of missing out, that some of us, I think, in particular, especially women who are interested in money. I have a tendency to see myself and a lot of other women, to where we get really excited about something and maybe we don't always make the best decisions, and
Right.
that's part of it. So what I do really appreciate about crypto as an investment is that it does have so many interesting qualities to it. What
Mhm.
I tend to focus on most, and this is what I tell women who are interested in it, is I want you to look at the use cases behind whatever crypto it is. So if it is if you've heard of Dogecoin, I think that was a really big thing last summer with Elon Musk
Right.
and all of that. It's a what we call a meme coin. There's really no use case behind it. There's no technology behind it. There's nothing there that can really, um, I think, propel it moving forward. So I
Hmm.
think prices on that are extremely volatile. But the thing is, with use cases, is it takes time to prove that it actually is viable and actually works. And
Right.
we had seen something like that about 3-4 weeks ago. There was a wonderful project out of South Korea, the Terra Luna project, and it completely upended itself. And I mean, lost all of its value in about 3 days. And
Wow.
it was, and it was a project I had looked at investing in, and it was. I'm so grateful I didn't end up doing it. Um, but it was a very promising, very real project that had a wonderful, wonderful technology and everything behind it, and it completely collapsed. Um, that said, that can happen in the stock market, that can happen in
Right.
real estate. But the big thing to remember right now is crypto is very, very speculative. And while I believe in it wholeheartedly, I'm here for the long haul.
Right.
Right now, it's a very, very scary place to be. Bitcoin, which was is the OG of
Right.
so it's down to its price
It's
point.
crashed.
It's crashed. It's the lowest it's been since December 2020.
Hmm.
And you know, I looked at my own personal Coinbase account this morning and wanted to puke because I was down $11,000. And you're just like, oh my god. Um,
But that's, I mean, also comparable to a lot of people looking at their stock markets
but
today,
think
because
about
again, it's a
exactly.
long haul. It's,
It's a
it's today, yes, but what's
Mhm.
10 years? What's 15 years?
Right, right, and I think that is one of the things that I think is kind of corrupting the
Hmm.
crypto market right now, is because people are not treating it like a long-term investment, like a set it and forget it strategy. I think it's ripe for like people who are like into day trading. It's very much that, you know, a lot of people are going in there to make a quick buck. And hey, if that's your speed, more power to you. And the more research and educated you need to be about it. But we're seeing, you know, our stock accounts crash. I mean, we're seeing a lot right now, you know, the real estate market itself too.
Right.
Maybe not the best time to buy. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's coming up for a correction. It's all indicators seem to point that way. But with any kind of investment, I think for the most part, we do see a correction period. And I do believe that by the end of the year, you know, crypto, we've been in a crypto winter. That's what we kind of call it since about, you know, mid-December. And
Mm-hmm.
it keeps getting a little bit icier, to be perfectly honest with you. But I've made no decisions. I just kind of look at my account and just be like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I think one of the things I recommend to people, especially women right now, is really get familiar with your risk tolerance. And, you know, the same rules apply to crypto, and just understand that this is speculative. Do I believe that it is super promising? Absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
are we in for a rocky ride? Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
And going back to that FOMO, I mean, there was a part where we heard about Bitcoin being really high and people were taking out. I mean, this one friend, you know, her dad was like, I pulled out $40,000 and I still made all this money. And so there was a lot of, I'm missing out on this quick buck that people are
Yes.
making and missing a lot of FOMO, and you kind of felt lost. And so some people I know jumped in with like Dogecoin or things like that because they thought they can get this middle ground, but it's not easy. And it is something you need to be on every day. If you're not looking for day trading, you do have to, just like a regular investment, kind of have that risk tolerance, which is a test that a lot of professionals like insurance or investing professionals will help you with and kind of gauge. But that is something about crypto, is that there's not as many professionals. You do almost navigate it on your own
Yes.
a bit as well. And so you were kind of mentioning, you know, how you get crypto. Is it just downloading an app and purchasing it? Is that just the 1-2 step?
There's a number of ways you can go about getting crypto. And, you know, and I think that depends on, you know, how comfortable you are in the crypto space. Most of the women I work with and talk to, we're just kind of putting feelers out, right? Like, okay, I think I might be interested in this. I might not be. I don't know how far I want to go. So you can go so far as to, you know, getting yourself on, you know, kind of a foreign exchange, and, you know, getting a cold wallet, and, you know, really getting into it. For women who are just kind of testing the waters, I would recommend starting with an account at Coinbase or Gemini. And I have no affiliation with either one of them. I want to make that clear. Personally, I use Coinbase myself, just because to be honest with you, it was the one that was available when I started, and
Right.
it was not scary to me. And I think that's a big thing. Like, what feels good and what feels least scary. And my advice is always to follow what feels good. Follow the good feeling. You know,
That's good life advice.
getting on an exchange, you know, that's based out of a different country. And so many of those exchanges right now are in big trouble for facilitating, you know, dark web kind of things. And maybe not even necessarily knowing it, but, you know, it's following what you find comfortable. And the other thing too is, like, you don't even have, if you want to invest in crypto, you can still do it indirectly, even with your own like stock account. So if you've got like a Fidelity
Oh.
account, absolutely. Like, there are so many funds and stuff that are now becoming available that you know, are invested in projects that are backed by like blockchain technology. So you can still
Oh.
do crypto investing without actually being directly invested in, you know, trading your own coins. So there's
Interesting.
I know, and that makes it so cool. Which might be a very, very good place to start,
Yeah.
and not a bad place to be.
Awesome. That's a great tip to know,
Yeah.
because I definitely did not know that. And so, you know, I know you're creating this crypto goddess.
Mhm.
And so, what can we kind of expect out of that? Are you going to be coaching? Are these going to be classes that we can take? Are you just going to give us the best tips and tricks? What can we expect out of that?
So what my plan is right now is I plan to have really a community to where we can bounce ideas off of each other, to where we are active with each other as a community, because I think that's one of the things I think that is so pronounced in the crypto space is there is a lack of community for women. And so, meaning, where do women go to ask a question without feeling stupid?
Right.
you know
Purse
um
strings.
right, purse strings, exactly. And so it's kind of like that. I mean, it's just very kind of a built-in community. I'm working on the platform for that, and building that out. But the second part is there will be coaching involved. I am planning on doing live classes. You know, I'd
Oh,
I had originally, kind of come into the idea of thinking, well, I can just create a class on, like, kind of how to crypto. Um, but the thing is, things change so dramatically with crypto.
right. I
More,
was going to say it's not institutionalized and long
it's
term
not,
like these stock markets have been, which also
no.
makes people hesitant. But it's not just
Mhm.
it's this plan. This is the way it goes, and this is the way
Right,
it's always been.
right. And so I realized, like, I don't think that is the best thing for this community. And so I want to make sure that there is an opportunity to connect with me live once a week, um, and be a part of that. And I'm planning on doing a monthly membership fee, to be honest with you. I would love any input on what people think are reasonable membership fees.
Right.
And I think that's an important thing too, because I have a wide range of women who are very much interested in crypto, but don't necessarily know how to get there. And
Right.
I mean, and
You don't
that's
like this idea of leaving money on the table, you know?
right. And I want to make sure it kind of meets the needs for everybody. And again, I think right now I've got, I don't know, I think almost 70 women who have signed up on the pre-launch, which is really incredible. Um, which tells me that there is obviously a need for this, right?
Definitely.
But I do want to make it, exceptionally, um, a good value.
Of course.
You know,
Of course.
so I don't have a sense of what the pricing looks like, but I'm
Right.
anybody wants to reach out to me with suggestions or ideas, like, I'm so amenable to that. And I think that's part of what makes crypto cool, is we can have those conversations.
Hmm.
We can make things a community oriented venture, even right down to things like membership pricing, um,
Right.
because the decentralization, the openness, it's a wonderful thing.
And it goes right along with with the crypto is that it makes
Yeah,
sense that if you had this very open, transparent community for sure.
exactly.
And just another question that I have for you is, it seems like these new coins of crypto, just for
Mhm.
anyone listening, crypto is a broad term, and then there's different kinds of coins underneath. So like Bitcoin is one, Dogecoin is one, you have these different coins. Um, where do they come from? How like do people just make them, or like how do you make a coin?
So
I know
making a
that's a
coin,
big, heavy question.
it is a big, heavy question, and to be honest with you, I don't even fully understand the process. I mean, it's intense. But really, a lot of it does come from blockchain technology. It's based, you know, um, within computer systems. You hear about people mining, Bitcoin, and you're
Yeah,
like, how do you mine a Bitcoin? Do you just, like, pull it out of the computer? Well, yeah,
right.
you're solving mathematical problems to create this coin, and you pull it out once you solve the problem. Um, but a lot of the coin minting has to do with kind of the use cases behind it, what you want it to do. But it is all technology based. It is all digital.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so what are some of these use cases that you talk like what's a good common use case?
So I can speak to there's a company called Algorand, and they I think most people are somewhat aware that El Salvador has adopted Bitcoin as a currency.
Hmm.
Algorand has a coin called Algo, but Algorand itself is a blockchain,
Okay.
and El Salvador built its Bitcoin availability on the Algorand blockchain.
Oh,
So that's what I'm talking about with some of these use cases, like where, like,
was it being
okay,
implemented?
yeah, where is it being implemented? How is it being used in real life? And again, we don't know how, I mean, Bitcoin in El Salvador, they're doing their thing right now. And, the leadership there is very supportive of that. But at the same time, we don't know how well that's going to go into the future. So
Right.
we've just got to be kind of conscious and aware that, hey, this is a good potential use case. And we've got to, think about where we might want to get in on that if we want to.
And it is interesting the way, you can spend it like money,
Mhm.
but it's not like you really take it out somewhat as cash but some places you do see you can pay with Bitcoin. I've definitely
Absolutely.
seen signs around for a pizza place or, for something at the farmer's market. It's kind of wild that you can pay in Bitcoin. But yeah,
Absolutely.
you have to see how that currency works because I know, if we go to the local Kroger, they don't want me paying Bitcoin there. And
Right.
so it's kind of, you have to understand your currency and definitely how it is being used.
Yes. Yes. And so you do have to, I live in the St. Louis metro area, and I live actually right outside of St. Louis in a smaller town called Columbia, Illinois, on the Illinois side. And in my favorite gas station in this small town is a like Bitcoin ATM. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how? I swear, I was completely floored. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so we're starting to see like these things, and it's just, we're definitely moving that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we just need to be aware of is our own attitudes and perceptions as to how crypto can be another asset, I say asset class. Because I think it really is. And I think it's complementary to a well-rounded portfolio. Diversification, I believe in wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And even if you are investing in crypto, as part of a broader portfolio, you still need to be diversified there. I don't want to see everybody, going all in on Bitcoin. I don't want to see everybody going all in on Ethereum. Like, have a little bit here or there. Treat it much like you would any other investment,
Right.
and make sure it's complementary to your risk tolerance, to your ability to stick with the investment versus it triggering you at a level to where it makes you emotionally uncomfortable. Because when you become emotionally uncomfortable with an investment, number one, that tells you it's the wrong investment for you, but
Mm-hmm.
it can also trigger some unfortunate circumstances. So it's very, and again, that goes for any asset class. Um, Investing in what you're comfortable with, I think there's so much to be said for that.
I 100% agree. I know that is so important because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you want to be able to breathe every day. And I know some people now, it's even with the stocks going down, it's talking
Mm-hmm.
about, you said this was your risk tolerance. We know we can make it through this and whatever that may be. But again, yeah, it's also, don't put all your eggs in one basket,
Right.
as they always say, because you never know. We just don't. That's how
We
it
don't.
works.
And even with our traditional stock portfolios, and I think all of us have been watching with kind of bated breath a little bit, and we get the and for me, I'm not retiring tomorrow. I'm 38 years old, so I've got another 30 years or so before I need to tap into some of that money. But for some of us, that's coming up sooner rather than later. And the
Mhm.
closer you get to a financial goal, and everything else in your financial portfolio isn't performing the way you want it to, it causes that breath to kind of just, I don't know, or the color to drain from your face.
Yes, definitely.
But I think there's a certain something to be said for also kind of like leaning toward those feelings and just saying, okay, I am uncomfortable right now, I don't like the balance, it's making me nervous, acknowledging those feelings, and then walking away from them. I
That's a
think
great
the biggest trouble happens when we kind of ignore those feelings and we don't kind of sit with them for a minute, and
point.
then we do something stupid.
Yeah, we've all done that one.
Oh, that was that.
You gotta sit in the feeling for a minute and really understand it and where it's coming from, and that always helps you, with your money mindset and break through to the
Very
next
much so.
level.
Very much
So
so.
you do have to sit with it, but it does get better. Um, I feel like we've touched on a lot of great, starting points for people who want to get into crypto. Is there anything else that you want to make sure our audience knows about today?
I just, don't don't discount crypto. There's a lot in this space. There's a lot to learn. And I think it is one of the most energizing, exciting times to be alive. And I say this all the time is I really think we're going to look back on the year 2022 and say that was the year everything changed.
Oh,
And I say that, I know it's a bold prediction, bold.
yeah. I'm excited. Tell me more.
But I look at this year and, we're looking at inflation rates, 40-year highs. Gas prices are almost, at least where I'm at, back home. And then I'm in Arizona right now on vacation with my family. I'm in Lake Havasu City, Arizona at the moment. And it's nearly $6 a gallon for gas. And, people are struggling to eat. We're, coming off of the pandemic, and we've got, this huge shift into, crypto and those conversations there. We've got Elon Musk wanting to buy Twitter, and we've got all of these crazy things happening. And I just feel like we are in the middle of a great reset of our financial system. And it's uncomfortable. I think it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people. You combine that with the job situation. People are leaving jobs in droves. I never thought I would be a part of that. And I'm glad I am. But we're really thinking our priorities and values. And I think I think 5-6 years from now, we're going to look at 2022 collectively and say that was the year our lives changed. And we didn't even know it because we were in the middle of it, just trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always know since you're in the tornado, but that's very exciting, and that makes me even more excited to see where this is going to come. Yeah. And I'm excited to start having these like live crypto conversations because I definitely want to learn more. I think you'll definitely pull an audience because there is so much out there that if you can just cut the noise and have a good conversation with women.
And that's what it is. It's the noise. There's just a lot of noise, and the more quiet and still we can be with each other and have that support system and that ability to just be ourselves and be authentic with what we're feeling when we're scared, when we're happy, when we're excited about something. I'm super excited about crypto. Absolutely. I'm totally gung-ho for this. But we do have to kind of step back a little bit and say, all right, these are the things we need to think about. And for some women, crypto is not going to be a good investment option. And that's okay.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just like any other investment.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, and that is totally okay. But I do think because of the newness, a lot of women are like, I'm going to miss out on something.
And I don't want women to miss out because we've got to close this financial gap and we have got to get our hands on some money. And so we are going to jump in 2 feet first and start learning this and start doing it if it feels right for us. Because like you said, we have to trust our gut. But yeah, we're going to jump in and earn this money.
That's right. And to be honest with you, that's how Crypto Goddess got its name. Crypto is the word means hidden. Crypto means hidden. And yeah. And I was trying to think, because at first I thought, man, Crypto Goddess, what a stupid name. Like, oh my God, this is so dumb. I'm diminishing, the value of a woman, by using the word goddess. Actually, you know what? No, we are a bunch of hidden goddesses who are really, really good at money. And I think we need to return back to our feminine power, our divine feminine energy, and bring that back. Because we are epic. We are goddesses. And no more hiding that for us, whether it be through crypto investing or for any other reason. Crypto means hidden. Let's not hide our feminine power anymore.
Let's pull out our goddess.
Pull out our goddess.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on and bringing this great education and getting the conversation started. I'm so excited for this, just for Crypto Goddess to launch. And then, everyone can check out your email at the bottom here if they want to reach out and have questions. You're also one of our Purse Strings Approved professionals, so they can check you out on our site, pursestrings.co. Is there any other way you want them to reach out to you?
You can feel free to email me. You can go to my website, cryptogoddess.com. Feel free to sign up as a member. All the good membership details will be coming out, in the next, few weeks. But like I said, I'm planning for a late summer, early fall launch, and I'm very, very, very excited about it. And I'm so happy to be a part of this community, and really grateful to have all of the cheerleading behind Purse Strings. This is a transition for me too. And when when women get together and when we really, really have each other's backs, man, something special happens. And I just
It gets
thank
wild.
you all. Thank you. And to Dr. Barb and to the entire community.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you for coming on today, and we'll talk to everyone next week about ESG investing. So that's a lot of fun as well. We'll talk to everyone then and see you next week. So thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, great.